Welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we dissect the Railway Series. I'm Jamie.
I'm Marina.
I'm Vivian.
And we hope you enjoy the show.
So this is the Cars on the Road podcast, right?
No, that's next week.
No,
Hot Rod.
No, that's next time we need to stall for content.
There's a that sings "Bird is the word." I want to talk about it.
No.
Unfortunately, you should maybe save that for later, because today, it's the Railway Series Book Club! This podcast where we talk about the Railway Series and, go on hiatus for many months.
It's been so long since last we've seen our son.
Before we did Paint Pots and Queens, but she dies afterwards.
That's why we're back now. We were waiting.
Yeah, we were waiting for the punchline to land.
The punchline,
you know what?
Close enough at this point.
Yeah. Welcome to the Railway Series Book Club, the podcast where we discuss and dissect the Railway Series. I am Jamie, the Queen of Sodor, pronouns she, her.
Marina, your local TV series bitch, pronouns she, her.
I'm Vivian. She, they. I read the My Thomas Story Library version of this story as well, so now I have a cool perspective that nobody else has.
Shit.
Cool.
Also, I'm British.
Which is evident because you're able to get to the My Thomas Story Library.
I have the full box set of 68. I think I'm missing like 2 that they never added. I've
got a few Thomas Story Library books. I picked up like a good chunk of the like more later ones when I went to some bookshop in the UK. I've got like basically a bunch of hit era characters and Boko.
My box set is 68 of them, and I think there's 70. I want to say, because they did box sets of like 64 and 66, and whenever they added a few, they'd add them to the box set. But I don't think they added the last few ever because the range died.
Aw. Well, today we're beginning our coverage on Edward the Blue Engine.
It's him. The demon. The beast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. When I was talking to Don when he was adapting this book in his AU, and I legitimately forgot that Mainline Engines wasn't Edward's book. For some reason, I always thought it was. I was like, oh yeah, this one exists. And that isn't me saying I dislike any of the stuff in those, because I don't. It was just it just completely slipped my mind, since I guess that's the one I associate with Edward.
To be fair, they are both very Edward-heavy books. Which is weird for Mainline Engines, because it's called Mainline Engines, but a lot of it has to do with Edward's branch.
That's the joke, is that it was going to be a mainline book, and then Bill and Ben weaseled their way into the entire book.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's very exciting today, because we finally escaped Season 1 of Thomas the Tank Engine. And
thank God.
Yeah, honestly. Season 2... Season 2 is very good. It's very... I say very popular. I remember it used to be, extremely popular. Everyone talked about it. Not so much nowadays. I think people have, moved on from that segment of the discourse,
3, 4, and 5 are the best ones, don't at me.
I think it's because at this point, we're at the point where a majority of the fandom is, at least on Twitter, is younger.
We grew up with the salty era, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, a lot of us are 2000s kids who grew up on seasons 1 through 6, and, well, it's half people who grew up with seasons 1 through 6 and saw anything 7 onwards as an affront to God, like me, or people who are slightly younger and are more acceptant of the hit era.
Yeah, so, like, I think we're past the point where, like, the fandom is a lot of, like, 80s, 90s kids that grew up on seasons 1 and 2, and, like, 3 and 4 were the new shit.
We're past the point where, fucking Salty is such a gimmicky character that ruined the series.
Yeah. God. Season 2 is really good, though. It has some of the same problems of Season 1 in terms of, like, extremely direct adaptions from scripts from page to screen, dropping of details that otherwise would have enhanced the story, misinterpreting parts of stories, etc., etc. But it gains a lot in terms of, like, mood and just being cool and, like, doing cool things. And it also has some additional quirks because it kind of bucks the story order a little bit by splashing in Christopher Audrey content in order to feature more Thomas.
It also made more about Thomas the Tank
and
actually bearable.
Yeah. And it also, a lot of these stories tend to take more liberties with the adaptations than Season 1's did.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, this has the side effect of, just based on what they chose, that it kind of just feels like an any % speed run of Railway Series books 9 through 26.
Which is a lot of content to get through.
I feel like...
One might call it a haphazard amount of content to go through.
I feel like they ran into the issue of reaching around the point where Thomas stops appearing when he was the title character of the show.
Yeah.
So, like, that kind of led to them picking stuff all throughout and not really doing the same, like, arc-based structure Season 1 did.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like they could have fixed that by omitting the mainline engines and tramway engine stories, though, and keeping in the stuff that they cut for the Chris Audrey stuff. Because that way you get more Thomas and more everything else, and it feels less like a speedrun.
And this is the thing, it's really easy to slot the Chris Audrey stuff in pretty much anywhere, because none of it fucking matters.
I mean, the only Chris Audrey one they really cut was Drip Tank. And, like, we didn't lose anything with Drip Tank.
What are you talking about?
Ironically, the word drip
is relevant now. Chris Audrey won in the end.
Is more relevant now in a way that doesn't add to the story at all, but makes it a lot funnier.
I think the issue with them running out of Thomas is the fact that, like, giving the show a main character was a good choice. I don't think anybody's gonna debate that. But you are still working from source material that was, for all intents and purposes, an anthology series.
Yeah,
I think it's the thing, though, they cover the books, because, like, this book is basically where Thomas kinda starts actually dropping off, whereas, like, in every book the first season adapted, they basically used Thomas as a crutch because he was the only one that was a fully realized character.
He was the best one.
Maybe Gordon.
He was the best one. It was, listen, Railway Series character tier list as of book, what is this, 9? Book 9. Thomas is the best, Toby's below him, Gordon's below Toby, everybody else is in the bottom.
I mean,
well, I would say that this book does wonders. I feel like this episode does wonders for establishing Edward's characterization, though. Because in the previous stories, he only really has 2 emotions, and it's happy to work and serve people, or sad when he's put down by the mean big engines. In this story, he has a far broader range of emotions, and he gets put in a lot of different situations, and it really kind of brings out who he is as a person, for lack of better terms.
But he's not
Don't
a person.
Forget the other most important emotion. Providing suffering to the trucks or encouraging Percy to do so.
Oh
Yes, I apologize for forgetting Edward's sadism.
No one brings that up ever, and it's like ironic now since he's known as like the one that's good with the trucks. But like a lot of his early appearances are either him fucking around with trucks or encouraging Percy to do the same.
Edward
It's very silly.
Edward is the one who subtly imbued Percy with all of his goblin energy, and no one ever assumed it.
Yeah, because everyone really likes to understate how cheeky and silly Edward can be. Edward the Blue Engine has been drawing a bit of ire from people lately who are bothered that allegedly a lot of these stories are more about other characters bouncing off of Edward rather than Edward itself. And I feel like there's some merit to those claims, but I do not think they are enough claim. I don't think there's enough, like, to the argument to say that it's a bad book or doesn't warrant being Edward's book.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the conclusion we come to while coming through the book stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was
and
This was actually one of my favorite sets of stories as a kid, because I just loved all of them. They were all really good.
Yeah, it's a really good set of stories.
I had a book that was a cow on the line, but I'd never seen the episode, so like most of the images from it are like ingrained in my brain, but I don't think I saw the episode until I was like 9 or 10.
Oh yeah, those old like U.S. poster books by picture books by Random House are a classic.
Yeah,
I think I've got a couple lying around somewhere.
I have a bunch of them somewhere. Gotta do those. Wondering if I've had stuff on book club.
If you donate to the Very Real Railway Series Book Club Patreon, we'll read all of those at the same time, in the same video.
Oh no.
Dear friends, I think most of you are fond of Edward. His driver and fireman, Charlie Sand and Sidney Heaver, are fond of him too. They were very pleased when they knew I was giving Edward a book all to himself. Edward is old, and some of the other engines were rude about the clanking noise he made as he did his work. They aren't rude now. These stories will tell you why. The author.
So it's confirmed that Charlie and Sydney are in the TV series are isekai'd, Edward's driver and fireman. I will take no
it's real.
arguments.
It's real fucked up. I like that there are names for Edward's driver and fireman in this book, and presumably just going forward. And I really wish the human crews were more fleshed out in general, given how much of a part they play in some of these stories. So
I think,
know.
I think Edward is the only engine where we know the name of both of his crew.
Yeah.
I believe it's generally understood that Thomas's driver is named Bob from Day of the Diesels. And
Day of the Diesels confirmed that.
I believe it's been said in a magazine story, which obviously doesn't have much stake in canon, but it is something of note, that Henry's driver is named Fred.
Yeah, I feel like if Thomas and Friends was the type of series to do, like, Dragon Ball anime-style expansive lore guidebooks, it'd be cool to have, like, a page or two in that dedicated to naming
those
each
literally
of the
exist.
Crews, all the...
Two of those literally exist. I own one of them.
You mean like the Big Book of Engines?
Well, no, I mean there's literally two massive lore books.
Oh, I meant like for the TV show,
right, okay.
not the Railway series.
I do want the Big Book of Engines.
But, you know...
Sir Topham Hatt's son was actually killed by Diesel Dad.
And that's why all diesels are inherently evil.
This is gonna date this recording, but we're recording this, like, literally a couple hours after the show Bible got released.
Yeah, the Bible from 2003 that says a bunch of terrible things
Diesel
that
and
ruin the
Devious
franchise.
Diesel are two different characters.
But the thing that strikes me most, at least with relevance to this recording, is that the Edward outlined in that style guide is like the polar antithesis of actual Edward.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he is old and frail and afraid of death. That is not Edward. That is the opposite of Edward.
Edward embraces death.
Yes.
I feel like... God, this is a weird fucking thing to say in regards to a Thomas character, but, like, I feel like kind of an issue that comes in with writing Edward, both in the show and in a lot of fan stuff, is people don't really want to give him flaws.
Yeah,
Which
a lot of
inherently-
people see him as kind of like, the untouchable guy who can do no wrong, and making him do wrong is out of character, when really there are a lot of ways for Edward to be flawed. It's just, a lot of them aren't as, like, I guess flashy as the flaws of,
He's
like,
not a James.
James or Gordon or Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah. And, like, I feel like it could have been an interesting route for a story, not, like, for literally, like, oh, Edward wrestles with his mortality.
No, haven't
But,
you seen
like,
Pilgrimage to Doncaster?
That was Gordon, though.
No, it wasn't. I think you don't fucking idiot. God.
What the hell's Edward doing at Doncaster? He's a barrel
He's
boy.
he's out on the town.
But basically, I feel like it could be an interesting route exploring... Because a lot of Edward's stories are him proving he's still useful despite his age and stuff. Like, I feel like more of like an internal kind of...
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
exploring him being aware of age and limits. I don't know.
I think
how to
maybe
word it,
the
but, like,
maybe the
yeah, I
idea
feel like
of
that's
Yeah.
an interesting route to go.
The idea of a story of Edward internalizing the idea that he is old when, like, nobody's really thinking about that anymore. To the point where he starts
Yeah.
trying to prove himself to someone who never doubted him to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I feel like there's routes you can go with it beyond what they did, where they just made him the old one, so that means he's weak.
Yeah. God, they did the same shit for Toby. We're like, oh, he's old, he's weak, he's weaker than some of the other tank engines. I mean, that might be true.
Yeah, that kind of
Fuck
is
it.
true.
Don't be mean to Toby.
Toby doesn't need to be strong. He literally lives in the middle of bumfuck nowhere and just fucks with sheep all day.
Yeah. Like, don't be mean to him.
One last thing I want to say very quickly is, I believe this is the first story to have, 2 Railway series narrators.
Yes,
Yeah.
for some reason, Johnny Morris did both, for both Johnny Morris and Willie Rushton did audiobooks of this and, Four Little Engines. And maybe Percy, the
I
Small
don't
Engine?
think
I don't remember.
Morris did Small Engine, unfortunately.
I think,
Okay.
I think he went... It was
Oh wait, no, I'm pretty sure he did. I could have sworn he said the lines about Montague.
He might
I
have.
think he did a couple. I think he did the next 4, I believe, and then Rushton went back and redid them. I'm gonna
I don't
check
know.
the wiki to fact check that, but
Well, well, we can check the wiki later. Someone in the comments can correct us.
Everybody check the
It's-
wiki right
it's
in
something.
the comments below and join our
Oh.
Discord and tell us why we're wrong and stupid.
it was basically he only did the first 8 books, so prior to this, on cassette, and then he did 9 to 11 only on the records. So I think they had Willie go back and redo those for the cassette release, maybe?
That makes sense. So on to like the story itself. According to the Thomas Wiki, Cows is based on 2 events. One in South Africa involved a herd of elephants charging and breaking a train on November 28th, 1952. And the other involved a herd of
story. Sorry.
And the other involved a herd of cows blocking the line and leaving 3 passenger trains stranded for an hour and a half on Boxing Day, 1952.
Fuck, why couldn't we have gotten either of those as stories? That sounds really funny.
That could have been a big world story. Just a herd of elephants charging and breaking a train.
Yeah. They
Man.
have fucking elephant shunt once. 'Once. They can have them, like, stampedes and
God.
trucks.
What?
Fuck.
God, imagine living in the same timeline as All Engines Go and still being the worst iteration of the franchise. Fucking
God.
sucks to be Big World, Big Adventures.
At the very least, we got the best episode in the franchise, Diesel Do Right, so.
But Diesel does not do right.
That's
Diesel,
a weird way to say hunt
Diesel
the
does
truck.
wrong.
Fucking hunt the Michael White's episodes in Big World are good, but genuinely, I feel like I prefer some of Davey Moore's stuff just because it's where he's at his most unhinged. He was allowed to do whatever the fuck he wanted except use Daisy, and he took full advantage of it.
Davey Moore is like this weird cryptid of writing when he just shows up, writes a script where random bullshit happens, it somehow turns out amazing, and then he disappears into the night.
He's also like the only writer that actually tried using Nia. Because I think every appearance after 22 where she's not just a minor character was written by him.
Yeah.
He tried. He
God.
did his best.
God, fucking another point in favor of All Engines Go over Big World. They actually use Nia as a character, and it's not the worst thing ever.
But you know who they don't use well, they don't use in Big World either, but they don't use in Go? Edward.
But they do use cows.
Yes!
They sure do.
Cows! Exclamation point. Edward the Blue Engine was getting old. His bearings were worn, and he clanked as he puffed along. He was taking 20 empty cattle trucks to a market town. The sun shone, the birds sang, and some cows grazed in a field by the line. Come on, come on, come on, puffed Edward. Oh, 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 screamed the trucks. Edward puffed and clanked. The trucks rattled and screamed. The cows were not used to trains. Noise and smoke disturbed them. They twitched up their tails and ran.
I really like the opening line of Edward the Blue Engine was getting old. Like, you know, I don't know why, but it's like, it's neat.
I think this is the first
like
time
it.
that they've really
Established.
implied that Edward is an older engine.
Yeah, like, I feel like this book is the first time where they're like, you know... Well, actually, not the first time. I think the first time they mention it is Gordon the Big Engine, but like this is the first time where it's like the main focus of the story is that, you know, Edward is old.
It's not just a weird forced in kind of thing at the last minute of a book. Like, kind of establish it. And it
Yeah.
ends up becoming something of the arc, considering that they need to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to not be so clanky.
So
Yeah.
I also, you know, they explicitly say that there are 20 empty cattle trucks in this version.
I love
And they don't say a number in the TV version.
I love how
Probably because they
obvious
weren't
it
able to
is.
run that many on screen.
I love how obvious it is that not only could they not fit, but they probably couldn't afford 20 cattle vans.
Yeah.
Probably not.
There's 5 in the show. I love that it's specifically, it's also specifically the one that Bluebell was on that gets lost by result in the show. And they also...
Yeah, weird thing about that, it's supposed to be empty cattle trucks.
Why is he taking empty
Yeah.
cattle trucks to a market? What's he bringing? What's he
So
doing?
wait, are they
I don't know.
Yeah, why?
Why is he bringing empty trucks to market? Are they like...
It feels
Like-
like they didn't want to actually have to commit to the fact that he's taking the cows to be sold for slaughter, basically. But,
Yeah,
like,
because for those at home that don't know, whenever they talk about, like, you know, livestock going to market, that's a prettied up way of saying they're going to the slaughterhouse to be turned into
which
meat
implies
for us
that
to eat.
Bluebell's calf was very dead very shortly after this story.
implies that
Yeah.
Bluebell was dead very shortly after the story.
Well, no, because I don't
Yeah.
think they were.
Both of them.
I don't think they were taking Bluebell to market. I think they were just taking her home.
No, but they do. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say I thought they did take her to market with the calf as the happy ending.
Now they can die together.
Yay!
So,
God.
as I said earlier, I read the story library version of this story as well, which, for anybody who hasn't read them, the story library books are typically an adaptation of one or two pre-existing stories kind of fit together. Edward's book is this and Old Iron, and it's not a particularly major thing, but they kind of make it a recurring point in the cow section of the book that everybody keeps calling Edward Old Iron to kind of build into that section later on.
Aw.
And that's kind of an interesting little adaptational change, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've said to Jamie, I'm probably going to just start reading all of the story library books for the stories that have them, so that I can see what exactly has changed, because I feel like those books don't get focused on enough.
Yeah, they're neat little books.
Oh, one thing I find funny, the first field Edward passes in the TV show, in the TV episode, it just doesn't have a fence anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's where James died. It's okay.
Yeah, they just never replaced it.
They never replaced the fence out of mourning. I used to think that the sun shone, birds sang part of the story was just like, weird filler, because a lot of stories tend to throw that in as filler. Mostly fan stories trying to capture this kind of story style.
Yeah.
But in the fuller context, I think it's kind of cool, because it's kind of like establishing the setting of this incident as, tranquil and serene, only for Edward's old ass to clank on it and disturb the cows so thoroughly that they break through the fence at the end of
The
his
cows
train.
are getting ready to commit a hate crime in this illustration.
Oh
Look at them, he's so concerned.
no! Uh-oh!
I like the cow.
What are they
girls in the
doing?
show. They're kind of funny looking.
Well, don't you love the bull who has just massive balls?
Oh god.
They galloped across the field, broke through the fence, and charged the train between the 13th and 14th trucks. The coupling broke, and the last 7 trucks left the rails. They were not damaged and stayed upright. They ran for a short way along the sleepers before stopping. Edward felt a jerk, but didn't take much notice. He was used to trucks. Bother those trucks, he thought. Why can't they come quietly? He ran on to the next station before either he or his driver realized what happened.
Again, just being confronted with just how many vans Edward is carrying in this version compared to the TV version is so funny. Like, they don't even specify the number of the number of trucks the coupling was broken between.
It says
They
some,
just-
and it's 1.
Yeah, it's
Like,
one van and the guard's van. Meanwhile, the tail of the train left behind here is more than Edward was pulling in the episode.
I really don't know
do-
if
It's
they
so
just
funny.
couldn't fit it on the set, or if they just didn't have the money for all of them.
Well, they have had issue with fitting stuff on the set before, because I guarantee that's the reason that the train was so heavily cut down and bowled out.
Yeah, Gordon's Express in real life would be I don't know, 15 coaches maybe, because that's, how long those kinds of trains usually
That's how long they say it is in
are.
bowled out. They say, they felt the weight of the 15
Oh yeah,
coaches.
that's right. 15 coach train. Usually Gordon only pulls 2 or 3 or
Maybe 4 if we're lucky.
Yeah. That's one good thing about the CGI series, is that, since space isn't a factor anymore, you can just have Gordon pulling 10 coaches, and,
Shame the coaches
it's not-
look like ass.
Yeah, shame that.
I like the guard just being like, oh, what the fuck.
Yeah. One detail I do like about the TV series episode is that the cows just kind of surround the remaining part of the train.
Just left him there.
He's about to get.
I mean, I also
fucking
like what it looks like in the book, where the cows are just grazing on grass on the other side of the tracks, and the train is rolled on past instead of coming to a dead stop. But, like, it's so much funnier for the cows to just be surrounding the train.
They're gonna eat the guy.
I do like the
that
tiny
was the goal the
detail.
entire time.
I do like the tiny detail in the show that when the derailment happens, you do see, like, kind of a jolt from in the middle of the train.
Yeah, it's in the score, too.
Yeah.
It was a neat way of doing it when, like, they clearly couldn't show the...
There was no good way to show a cow breaking a train's coupling.
Oh, Mari,
Yeah,
did you get to the human part of the writer's Bible?
Yes, yeah.
Where it's like, you know, please don't write lots of words for the humans, because frankly, they don't do much.
Yeah. All I can do is point.
God. It's so fucking hilarious.
It is...
You know, totally unrelated, but I really like the Emily section of it. Like, because, you know, Emily was so different in that compared to her, like, one or two non-hit appearances, that it's nice to finally kind of get some insight into, like, how she is supposed to fundamentally operate, as opposed to fans just having to extrapolate it.
Yeah.
I do take umbrage with the whole, like, oh, well, Emily's the same age as Thomas, but she's more mature because she's a girl, and girls are more mature than boys at the same age. And it's like, that's not... No, that's not a thing. That's, you know, sexism compounded with poor child rearing.
I feel like, to a degree, it could have been, like, a she thinks that sort of... But that isn't really the kind of show Thomas is, anyway.
Yeah, Thomas rarely smacks of gender.
Yeah, like
except for the story in the magazines where Boko and Henry become gay.
No, or the one where I thought you were gonna mention the one where they changed...
I thought you were gonna say the one where Henry is a sexist.
Yeah, where they changed what's the matter with Henry. Henry being a
character assassination, I say.
What's the matter with Henry? More like what's the matter with women? Am I right? I mean, come on. They want equal voting opportunity? God, make me a sandwich. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Emily section of that was pretty good, and it felt like a good way of kind of bridging her season 7 and season 8 personas to some degree.
Yeah. It's just a shame the rest of that Bible is kind of hellish.
Yeah.
Bother those trucks.
We gotta get to Parkwar Ironworks.
God.
I like the illustrations.
You know, this is also, getting back to the story, this is also a very rare silly moment from Edward. Just assuming the trucks are being bumpy and not checking to make sure it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's nice getting to see that Edward isn't literally a perfect being. Like, you know, again, like fans like to make him out to be.
Yeah, Gary, haven't you been on Twitter?
Yeah, Edward is a perfect, flawless being who can do no wrong and has no flaws.
He's either God or Victor Tanzig. There's, like, no in between.
What's the difference?
So he's either God or Satan.
When Gordon and Henry heard about the accident, they laughed and laughed. Fancy allowing cows to break his train. They wouldn't dare do that to us. We'd show them, they boasted. Edward pretended not to mind, but Toby was cross. You couldn't help it, Edward, he said. They'd never met cows. I have, and I know the trouble they are. Some days later, Gordon rushed through Edward's station. Poop, poop, he whistled. Mind the cows. Ha 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 ha.
This page is the only time Edward and Toby directly interact in the Railway series, and it's a really good distillation of how they differ despite generally being written off by some as interchangeable old wise guys. Because, like, Edward pretended not to mind, but Toby was cross. You know, Edward will, you know, has a pretty bad and self-destructive tendency to just kind of clam up when someone is rude in order to avoid conflict, but Toby has a lot of thick skin and willpower, and he'll stand up for himself and the people he cares about.
And he's really
he don't take no shit.
I really like that. I feel like the TV series kind of adds a layer to it, where Toby says it with Gordon in between him and Edward.
Yeah.
He just says it to their faces
That's
outright.
the thing. Toby
it's great.
Toby does not give a shit. Like, this is the thing. Toby is like a very intelligent person, right? You know, he's very knowledgeable. He also literally just not give a shit, and he just fully rejects the bullshit that the other engines get into.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, I also think it's very funny. I feel like the part in the TV series where he just comes up to them is also him trying to assert dominance because he's taller than Gordon.
Hurdle scale.
You know, we all get on the CGI series ass for wax scaling, but we gotta acknowledge the TV series started it to an extent.
Yeah, no, like I love like the season 1 models, but like Toby should be like maybe like 2/3 the size he actually is in the show.
Oh,
yeah,
him being big is funny.
I think the thing that gets me the most is that Henry's taller than he is.
Wait, he's
He's got a lot of junk in the trunk.
Oh, Henry's ass is fat. Got it.
I got that big dumpy.
Oh god.
This is such a cursed podcast.
Yeah, this is another scene that's like kind of burned into my brain just because of the book. So like the image of like Gordon and Henry with like Edward and Toby slightly back, and then like the four of them lined up.
Yeah,
like, I like that. It's also, I like Toby just saying it to their face.
yeah, it's great.
It's a shame that
you know,
this is the only time I think like ever Edward and Toby interact.
Yeah, like there might be some like late model era or maybe some CGI episodes, maybe, but like
I think they talking.
I can't think of a single time they ever directly interact after this.
Do they not? And You Can Do It, Toby?
Maybe I have not watched that episode. Have I watched that episode? I can never remember which hit model era episodes I've actually watched because
You Can Do It, Toby.
avoided most of them for most of my life because I hate them.
That's the one where Toby has to be the back engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Dalton Douglas.
Do they?
Yeah. He's like, oh, Toby shunted dildo trucks for Edward, and cases of bananas for Donald, and this single truck full of asbestos for Douglas, or whatever.
They were supposed to appear in season 8, which is weird to think about.
He doesn't?
Thomas pushed the asbestos wagons into Bert! Ah!
Wait, what is that
I told you to be careful with the asbestos
it's the
wagons.
Winston
They're
thing.
full of asbestos.
It's from that one fucking Ginger Percy Winston
Yeah, it's from
video.
Winston's Dumb Adventure.
I forgot.
I also want
also,
Harold,
you know,
goddamn terrorist.
Yeah. There's not much else to say about this page, really. You know, Gordon and Henry laughing at Edward's misfortune, assuming they would never be so humiliated by mere cattle. Surely this is not a, very blatant setup for karma.
The perspective on Toby
in
and Edward's tracks is completely fucked. What's up with that?
Yeah.
They make it look like Toby should be like leaning in towards Edward.
He is a little bit.
They'll get what they deserve, honey.
Yeah. I feel like this is another example of Gordon bringing out the worst in Henry. But, like, other than that, that's about it.
Yeah.
Dalby is not typically very good. I do like how he draws Henry. Like,
yeah, I love
Henry.
Yeah, like, he does a really good job making Henry look like a Black 5, which is admirable considering Dalby's steam engines tend to be more caricature than locomotive a lot of the time.
I honestly do still think that the only reason Henry is consistently accurate is because Wilbur would have literally killed him if he wasn't.
Well, I think Wilbur gave him, like, a fucking Hornby model of a Black 5 and said, draw this.
Oh, I love trains. Trains are cool.
Yeah. Trains are cool.
Cows are the best.
Cows are the best. Hurry, 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 huffed Gordon. Don't make such a fuss. Don't make such a fuss, rumbled his coaches. They rumbled over the viaduct and roared through the next station. A long stretch of line lay ahead. In the distance was a bridge. It had high parapets on each side. It seemed to Gordon that there was something on the bridge. His driver thought so too. "Whoa, Gordon," he said, and shut off steam. "Pooh," said Gordon. "It's only a cow." "Shoo! Shoo!" he hissed, moving slowly onto the bridge.
"Pooh," said Gordon, "it's only a cow," and then accelerated back to full speed.
No!
Cows are not the greatest.
Cows are
quote again.
not the best.
Cows are
That
not
is
part of the
episode
moral
ago.
world.
God, I don't have much to say about this other than it's such obvious karma. Like, what? A cow on the line? After Gordon saying he'd never have trouble with cows? Say it ain't so!
I like that you can see
I
the
will
steam
not
of
go.
presumably Henry coming up.
Turn the lights off. Carry me home.
Maybe you'll see that, like the little tiny cloud of steam that like might be Henry.
Oh yeah, I
that's
see
actually
that.
a
I
cool
never noticed
touch.
that before. That's cool.
That's a neat touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense perspective-wise, but neither does literally anything in Dolby's illustrations.
The thing is really far away.
Why, here Gordon's splash is smaller than his wheels.
They almost always are in the books. So this cow was wandering off looking for a kid who was being taken to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's depressing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wonder if the opening
feel
line
like-
saying the trucks were empty was like one of the like editors being like, hey, change this, and he was like, okay, but that didn't change anything else.
I mean,
This is a
I'm
real
not sure the
Gotthard
editor would want to
situation.
sanitize something like that. I feel like that'd be the kind of thing that that would be... I feel like it's the kind of thing that people would just, like, accept at face value at that time. I don't know so much about now, just because I don't think most children's media touch on the subject of, cows going to the slaughterhouse, but,
Yeah, true. Yeah, at that then it was just kind of normal. Now they show the cows getting sent to McDonald's.
But the cow wouldn't shoo. She had lost her calf and felt very lonely. "Moo," she said sadly, walking towards him. Gordon stopped. His driver, fireman, and some passengers tried to send her away, but she wouldn't go, so they gave up. Presently Henry arrived with a train from the other direction. "What's this?" he said grandly. "A cow? I'll soon settle her. Be off, he hissed. But the cow turned and mooed at him. Henry backed away. "I don't want to hurt her," he said.
I love this so much, because, Gordon is upfront with the cow, doesn't care, and just gives up. Henry tries to have bravado about it, but then ends up backing away because he's a fucking, high-strung worrywart.
Yeah.
It's great.
I do find it interesting that I feel like between the Railway series narration and the TV narration, like, the book definitely gives off more of the vibe that, like, Henry's just bullshitting. Which is like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
want to hurt it, I'm gonna go run away. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
the TV, he sounds a little genuine, at least. Which
I think it's also the fact
He sounds a little genuine, and he's also wearing his fucking consummate V smiling face the entire time.
yeah.
He's also smiling when Percy goes to get it in a little bit.
Yeah. Like, that's such a weird thing that they do in Season 2, is a lot of the time characters are just wearing the same face throughout the entire episode, even when they really should be feeling a different emotion.
I think
Like
it's
Thomas
feels
and Thomas and Trevor.
It feels like Season 2 has a very limited filming schedule.
It feels like everything is falling apart.
They were filming it, I think, before all the faces were finished, and it really
They
kind
were.
of shows.
Which is
'Cause-
why
Yeah.
in scenes in Tidmouth and Knapford, for example, most of the faces don't have eyebrows.
Yeah.
Birdie just doesn't at all, and Birdie's Chase, I'm pretty sure.
and Terrence never got them, period.
It's so fucked up.
Also, Henry is completely cut from this scene in the story library version.
Aw, poor guy.
It's just Gordon. Henry is in the scene earlier in the book of them both mocking him, but he's not in this scene, and he's not in the final scene either.
Wait, who's not?
Henry. They just cut him from the second half of this story in the story library.
Aw.
Huh. That's weird.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't swap him out with James, considering Old Iron.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess... I don't know if James would have worked better or not. Would have been thematically tied, but... I don't know.
I feel like it works that way in the story library book, because it's only got 2 stories, and James is in the other one.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, they both... You have 2 engines teasing Gordon, one gets one comeuppance, and then the other gets theirs. I feel like I kind of prefer Henry being here as part of the story, just because...
Yeah, no, it is a better...
It's more variety.
It is a better, like, thing for this main story. I guess it's, like... It's just interesting to see the fact that it's just Gordon in the story library book is interesting.
Yeah, which is weird.
Because it is quite a different format, because, like, it is typically they use 2 stories, but they do frame it as if it is one continuous story, typically.
That's interesting.
So they have to do a lot of recontextualization to make things flow as one long story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird they didn't throw James in then.
Henry's pogging a little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Very scared Pog.
Oh!
Wouldn't you be scared if there was a cow?
Oh no! Oh no, there's a cow on the line. I'm a hen house.
Why is the telegraph pole in the track?
I like nature, but cows aren't part of nature. Why is there a telephone pole like that on the bridge?
I just said that.
I think it's just the way it's framed. It's supposed to be like on the side, but yeah, it definitely looks weird. More Dalby framing, I guess.
Also, Henry's tender looks wrong.
It looks like a tender.
The tender looks like it's at a different angle than Henry himself.
It's a Dalby illustration. Everything's at a different angle all the time.
It's tilted like the towers.
Yeah.
Welcome to my bridge.
It looks like a take along when they don't connect properly and you connect the the magnets are side on rather than back to back. Or front to front.
Yeah.
Drivers, firemen, and passengers again tried to move the cow, but failed. Henry's guard went back and put detonators on the line to protect his train. At the nearest station, he told them about the cow. "That must be Bluebell," said a porter thoughtfully. "Her calf is here, ready to go to market. We'll take it along." So they unloaded the calf and took it to the bridge. "Moo! Moo!" wailed the calf. "Moo! Moo!" bellowed Bluebell. She nuzzled her calf happily, and the porter led them away. There's no Percy!
Yeah, the TV series adds Percy coming back with the cattle van to pick up Bluebell and the calf.
Yeah.
You know, again, presumably the same cattle van from the opening, despite that's supposed to be empty. And also, why is Percy just at some random station and not shunting at the big station? It's not a serious question, I know the answer is plot convenience, but like...
Why is he at
You know what, I don't want to question it too much, because I'm just happy to see... the TV series change a story in a way that isn't just omitting interesting details.
I love that it gives the implication that Percy is the one that spread the rumor. Or, that spread the story. Because, he was there and saw both of them scared of the cow.
Yeah.
So, I just like that as a detail because, like, in the book later they say, like, oh, they were like, let's keep this fucking quiet, but it spread anyway. But, like, it's
Yeah.
funnier when it's the implication that it's a character, like, we know. He was just like, hey, guys, get a load of this shit.
Yeah.
So the story is really fucking depressing when you think about it, because it's like how not wanting your kid to be taken off to get slaughtered.
And now they both go to the slaughterhouse together. Happy ending.
God.
Also, detonators on the line. It's kind of weird how, like, the TV series removes, like, both this and, like, the other instance of detonators being a thing in the Railway series, but then turns them back into a thing in Season 6.
I
Like-
think it's because in Season 6 they have the time to, like... They're like a
Do
plot
it.
point in the episode, so, like,
Yeah.
they establish what they are. Whereas, like, if you were, like, just in it randomly in a kid's thing, oh, they put detonators on the line, like, most kids either wouldn't understand what that meant, or would think, like, the explosives, like...
Yeah, they
Like,
think they're gonna
fucking
blow
God
up
is
the
placing
tracks.
bombs.
Did somebody say boom? Bombs.
Bombs?
Listen, fucking
Bombs.
the detonators in the TV series
bombs.
also gave us Cyril, and I love Cyril. Cyril just showing up and then disappearing into the mist is the best part of any Big World episode.
I like, in this is kind of more on the last page, but when they're like, oh, all the crew and everything did stuff, they just shortened it to everyone tried, but, like, no one could get the cow to move. It's just a shot of Gordon sitting there doing nothing. 'Cause I
Yeah.
had nothing else they could show.
Refer back to the story Bible. They can't do much.
I feel like... No, because it's like they probably... I feel like they probably could have tried more, like, stop motion or something with the people, but the models were so cheap and tiny, they couldn't do anything. Anyway.
They also had a really limited budget, so if they broke literally anything, they were fucked.
Yeah.
The two trains started. Not a word. Keep it dark, whispered Gordon and Henry as they passed. But the story soon spread. Well, 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 chuckled Edward. Two big engines afraid of one cow. Afraid? Rubbish, said Gordon huffily. We didn't want the poor thing to hurt herself by running up against us. We stopped so as not to excite her. You see what I mean, my dear Edward. Yes, Gordon, said Edward gravely. Gordon felt, somehow, that Edward saw only too well.
That's a good fucking ending line.
Yeah, it's so good. I
He
fucking
knows
love it.
Edward's just
I
sees
love how
straight
cheeky
through him.
Edward is here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he starts by teasing and is then like, yes, I understand. It's very serious.
I think around this
God.
point, like, Wilbert is coming to grips with, like, his use of words really well.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fun characterization for him that fits what we've gotten before. Where, like, Edward, he's not like a little shit in the way like Thomas or Percy are, but, like, he's still got a bit of that spirit in him.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Edward lets you dig your own grave and then lets you know that you're not fooling him.
Yeah. He's just there to laugh at you internally. Which makes it hurt more, because you know he's doing it, but you know you're probably not gonna see it. You just have to live with that knowledge that he sees your bullshit and is laughing at you.
I love the final shot in the episode of just Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love the idea that, like, it's in the episode where it's just, it kind of seems like just everyone's, like, end of the day conversation. Where,
Yeah.
you know.
I do love that that's the resolution in a lot of stories like this, is that ultimately the bullshit gets back to the main shed and everybody laughs about it.
Yeah.
God. It's so fun. These books are fun.
They are fun.
Yeah. This is a fun story. It's one
Yeah,
of those I don't
we
really
wanna-
have much to say about, but I like it.
It's a good.
Yeah.
It's
Why don't we go into rankings?
it's not an in-depth one, but it's still a good one. And yeah, let's do
Yeah.
rankings.
Yeah, it's a fun little story. It's not complicated at all, but it's a really fun start to a really fun book. It gets points for putting Edward and Toby in the same room and immediately showcasing their differences. I feel like it kind of does that to a much more minor extent with Gordon and Henry, but it's not quite so noticeable. It doesn't get as much of a point put on it.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. It's a fun premise, fun interactions, just fun. I think it's a duck.
Yeah, I was originally gonna go Toby, but I'm feeling generous. I'll do Duck too. It does everything it sets out to do well. I think it's a good story for an Edward book too, because I do feel like it kind of it characterizes him really well in the same way that I think like something like PA Problems does.
Yeah. PA
Well, like-
Problems
Yeah.
is so good for Edward.
You could argue the story isn't necessarily about him, but like it perfectly shows where he fits into the world. And, like,
It shows his role within the cast.
Yeah, which is the perfect story to start a book like this off with. I like
Yeah.
it a lot.
Yeah.
There's also it ends with Edward kind of getting one up on Gordon and like knowing like he like leaving Gordon with the knowledge that Edward absolutely sees through his bullshit completely, which like when you consider Gordon's introduction is like it's fun.
That's the
I
thing.
think
Every story where Edward gets a leg up on someone, he does it indirectly, and I think that's really good.
Yeah. Like, Edward doesn't necessarily need to prove himself. He's already got a pretty good sense of like, self-pride, but other engines feel the need to like put him down or like use him as like a footstool, and they always get shit for it.
They always get theirs in the end.
Like, I'm just thinking, because there's like this, and like, maybe he wasn't inactive in Old Iron, but he wasn't doing anything to James. Like, Old Reliable Edward. Like, every story where Edward ultimately wins in some way, he does it just by being there, essentially. Like, he never goes out of his way to do something.
Yeah.
His powers.
I mean, I feel like Old Iron and, not to undermine you, I'm sorry, but like, the
You're
Old Iron and
I'm gonna
Edward's
fall down
exploit,
the
I
mine.
feel like. Oh
I've fallen down the mine and the Furnace Railway's going to leave me here. Jamie, what have you done?
no! You're gonna go to Australia! No!
God, a fate worse than death.
Did you
Oh,
say your
well.
ranking?
It's better than Brazil. Me?
Yeah.
I was gonna say Duck as well, actually.
Oh. Ducks across the board.
I think this is one of our highest rated stories in a while.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily surprising, because it's a really good starting story.
Down the
Well,
mine, actually.
down the mine is like, a quarter of a point higher, but like,
What was
One
down
of
the mine, actually? I don't remember.
8's across the board from us, and then a 9 from Andrew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that tracks.
I think you're just remembering Paint Pots and Queens being a slog.
yeah, that was
We did get a really good streak rewrite out of it, though.
I think
We did. That was really good.
I think this is one of the highest stories that doesn't involve Thomas in any way.
How did the stories in Toby's book do? Because I feel like we liked most of those.
Yeah, we like those. There's
Two of those are about Thomas.
9 and a third, 6 and a third, 9 and 2/3, 5 and a third, and then Christmas Party was 8 and 2/3. So it was a bit of a polarized book overall, but like we had some high highs and a couple mid.
Okay.
Train Doctor.
Yeah.
This does give some good impressions for what we're going up to next, because I don't think this book has a single dud, honestly.
Yeah, all the stories in this book are like, okay they're like okay at worst.
Yeah.
I feel like okay at worst is a good way to describe the Railway series going forward at this point, honestly.
Yeah. There are very minimal dud stories in Wilbur's run until you get to Missing Coach, and then
Yeah.
it's fine after that.
Okay. God, I'm gonna have my work cut out for me defending that story. God.
That'll
Anyway.
be an interesting one to do.
Yeah. I've already written notes for it in advance because I'm a fucking nerd.
Everybody bully Jamie in the Discord for being a nerd. Bully her.
No! Anyway, next time, we're gonna be talking about Birdie's Chase.
The one time Wilbert actually remembered that he wrote a road character in.
I'm so excited. I love Bertie's Chase so much.
Does Trevor
Yeah,
appear again?
he, not till Chris's stuff.
Yes, Bernie's Chase is the only time a road character appears again.
Yeah.
I did see a thread.
I'm very excited for Birdie's Chase as well, because I used to be kind of mid on it, because I, grew up with it on one of my VHSs, and I always kind of thought, oh, it's, it's like one of those stories that's so deeply ingrained in my brain that, I wouldn't, think about it any deeper than, yup, that's a Thomas story. But then actually, reading and taking notes for this episode, I started getting really into it.
I guess a little bit of a similar note, but kind of spoiler for next episode. I feel like it's weirdly interesting, the interesting case of a story where, the extended narration in the book kind of actually does a good job making the whole thing more, bigger than it would seem on the surface. So, I
it's
agree.
it's like the part in Thomas and Bertie where it's like the narration about the two of them side by side alongside the river.
Yeah.
That's.
I feel like we should maybe save our commentary on this book for next episode.
Yeah, you could say that's a story.
I'm going to break your neck.
For another day!
I'm going to break your neck.
Damn it. Thanks for listening to the Railway Series Book Club. We are now going to throw stones at Mari for her misdeeds. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.